Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Sunil, who look after this series of online webinars. So before start the session, I would like to introduce Mr. Murali, who will lead this India Skills competitions from the state of Andhra Pradesh. And Mr. Murli will give a brief note on the skills that we opted for this competitions and the previous medallion list and the approach that we follow for the upcoming skill competitions. Okay, now I'm hand over this to Mr. Murli. Now you can start.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Sunil. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the day six webinar on unlocking skills part of campaign. Uh, I'm just present our screen. Yes. Yeah, I think maybe most of the members know about the AP Skill Development Corporation. Is the one of the government organization. We are imparting the skills on latest technologies and industry-oriented trainings to the students. Not only for the students, it is also as well of the conducting the trainings and placements for unemployed youth also. And coming to the our centers, I think maybe in your college also maybe center is there. I think so. In the already we are covered the 427 call schools. In these through schools we are trying these students on latest market oriented trainings like basic IT communication skills like that. And coming to the degree colleges, we are established 525 employability skills development centers in degree colleges. Through these centers, we are adopting the skills on like base CRT trainings and communication skills, Python, all latest related technologies. Will adopting the technologies for the degree students. Coming to the engineering colleges, we are established in we are already covered 274 colleges. In the out of 274, we are established 100 CM Center of Excellences and 59 Dassault centers and 40 Siemens centers also. And with collaboration with some industries and private training partners, we are covered. We are established nearly 500 centers. So this is the best platform to upgrade your skills and imparting all these centers. We are imparting the latest technologies. And coming to the skill competition, so I think our main motto is I think July 15th is the World Youth Skill Day. As a part, we are conducting the series of webinars to unlocking the skills for Atmanirbhar Bharat. So World Skills is the one of the biggest platform. It is the showcase your skills in world level. So, if, for example, you have go to the cricket, the people are using called the cricket is the World Cup. Like coming to the skill World Skills competition is the skill Olympics. So this is the best of the platform showcase your skills in the world level. And so this is the last Team India journey in the world skills. So that initially the India got first time in 2019. It is recently completed in Russia. At that time, totally 63 countries has participated. Out of that, the position of the India is 13th position. So at the time, India got the one gold medal, one silver, and two bronze also, and 15 medal of excellence, one gold medal. The first time India got the gold medal on water technology. So see, these are some of the pics of the World Skills Team India journey in the World Skills 2019. And again, as a part in National Skill Development Corporation is organizing skill competitions like India Skills Competition. So as a part, APSCDC is nothing but Andhra Pradesh team is participated on 2018 on 26 trades. At the time, AP got the four medals. One is on refrigeration and air conditioning, one is on mobile robotics silver, and one is IT network system administrator is the bronze, and one more is IT SSB. In 2000, in again as a part this year also we are conducting skill competitions. We already opened the registrations in December month. Last year December, nearly 16,000 people are registered for the 27 trades. So we are conducting district level competitions in nearly 248 locations, and we are shortlisted for the zonal level competitions in for nearly 5,600 people. Then we are conducting zonal competitions in four zones. One is the Visakhapatnam, Vijayawada, Tirupati, and Anantapur zones. Again, we are shortlisted for state level competition. So next, coming to the next competition is the World Skills 2021. It is will be conducting in China. The guidelines will be released on very soon. And coming to these are the last where Andhra Pradesh is picked on the 27 trades. So if anyone is interested, visit our website at www.apssdc.in. In panic situation also, APSDC conducting many programs for the students and unemployed youth for your upgrade your skills. Just visit the www.apssdc.in and create just register your interested program, any program like that. It is the very important time to improve and upgrade your skills. So thank you everyone, and thanks to Schneider team for conducting wonderful session for our students as a part of unlocking campaign. Thank you for your team also part of this campaign. Thank you. Thank you, Sunil.
Thank you, Mr. Murli. And before start the session, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Sir Maheshwaran Garu from Snyder. Sir, working as a teacher, a senior data architect, and sir has having more than 15 years of experience, both like in research and teaching. So, sir has created many real-time applications on industrial automation. So now sir is going to give a brief introduction about industrial automations like PLC, SCADA, and that career opportunities that if the candidate has choose the platform as their industrial automation. Okay. And before this, I would like to notice some of the queries from the students. Will I request all the participants please be in the meeting? Will convey all. We are ready to give query session at the end of the session. Okay, we'll tell all feedback at the certificate distribution. Everything will be there, but you are supposed to be stay with patience up to the end of the session. Okay, so we'll allocate 10 minutes time for query session at the end of the session. So sir will meanwhile sir will discuss all these things. Sir, now you can start the session, sir.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Murli, for warm welcome. I'll just introduce about me. I'm a senior data architect. So, I work on technical specifications of industrial automation products in Schneider Electric. So, I take care of the product data sheets which you see in the website. So, all those informations are validated and published in the website journal. So, it's a brief idea about what I'm doing. So, talking about today's session, we are going to discuss a few items on basics of industrial automation. This is not going to be a very advanced session. It is just for the beginners to understand the basics of industrial automation program. So, I'm just sharing this slide. Do you see my screen?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay. So,
Sir,
this is
please.
more,
Uh,
yeah, tell me this.
Sir, your voice is very slow, sir. Just
Can you hear me right now?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible. Sir.
Okay. So, this is based on the, I suggest everybody to mute their mics so that it will be easy for me to proceed further. So, this concept is going to be a vast discussion about the basic concepts of industrial automation products, which I had came across all over 10 years of my industrial automation experience. So, beginning from the basics of engineering, I'm just going to make you travel through the advanced automation objects what you are seeing in market right now. So I'll just begin the session. So basically, for students, we must know what is AC and DC before we start the session. So, as described in the slide, AC is described as flow of charge that changes direction periodically, which means you will get a sinusoidal waveform in alternating current with respect to frequency. And similarly, DC will be like a straight line. There won't be any flow. So, starting from 0 volt to 5 volt or 10 volt or 24 volt, DC will be a straight line, and thus there is no frequency in DC. So these are just basic concepts which you should know before starting concepts. And before understanding about the automation components, let's discuss few informations about the three types of electrical loads. So the major types are resistive, inductive, and capacitive. I hope everybody knows this. I'm just giving a brush up on the topic so that it will be easy to understand the further concepts. So there are three types of load. One it is inductance, capacitance, and resistance. The resistance load will consume power and dissipate it as heat, and the capacitance will store charges, and induction will just convert electrical energy to magnetic energy. So these are the three types of electrical loads available in the electrical field. So going into it, some of the examples are like for resistance, we see rheostat as a resistive load example, and transformers are the best example for showing up inductance. And finally, the capacitors, which we use for the CT tracks, are the best example for describing the properties about capacitance. So we have three major classifications of electrical machine, which are the load side part of the industrial automation. Mostly will be operating generators, motors, and transformers using the industrial automation components. So we very well know that the physical construction of may I request you to put in mute so that it will be easy. I'm hearing quite a lot of noise. So, an electrical motor is an electrical machine which converts electrical energy into mechanical energy. So, we provide electrical mechanical rotation. But in a generator, we provide mechanical rotation as an input through a prime mover like a motor or a diesel engine or a petrol engine. Using that, we run the generator's shaft into angular momentum and we achieve the EMF and we collect it and store it in a battery or discharge it through the electrical circuits. And finally, the transformer is a static device which is just transforming energy between two circuits. So there is no rotational moment or an angular moment or a linear moment in a transformer, but still energy gets transferred from one place to another using the concept of magnetic induction. So we are getting into the topic now. So let's talk about the control panels. So industrial control panels are very
Sir, can you increase your voice, sir? We are unable to hear you. Sir, is my voice audible?
Yes, Sunil.
S- just wait, I'll talk it. Sir. Sir, from your end, can you?
Hello, can you hear me well now?
Clear, sir. Now
Is
you
it
will
audible
get
well? Okay.
audible.
Okay. Talking about the control panels, we have three major main types of control panels. One it is
Sorry, sir. Screen is not visible, so that get
is it
uh,
visible now?
now it is visible.
Okay. From beginning it is not visible, or just now it is not visible?
It is not visible, sir.
Okay. So
Uh,
we had entered into the topic called control panels. So these are the main components of industrial automation equipments. One is the basic panel and MCC panel, which is nothing but motor circuit controller. And we also have administrator control disk. So we are going to study briefly about these three types of panels and its components. And here is a web link which I will share you. You can also go through it when the session is done. So it is an interacting web page where you can see the components from by clicking into the panel. If you just click the numbers, you'll be able to see what are the number of items available under each category. So I'll be sharing it to the end of the session. And let's see the basic components of in electrical panel, which is internal. We will be having a switch gear, switch mode power supply, terminal blocks, circuit breakers, timers and counters, PLCs, network adapters, contactors, relay boards, and drives. So these are the most major equipments available inside of electrical control panel. And talking about a switch gear, it is an protection device as well as a switching device used in front of a panel, which will be receiving the incoming power supply. Either it's a three-phase or a single phase, it will receive the input power supply. And when you receive the input power supply, this switch will act as a protection for the whole panel. If there is some problem in the incoming power supply, this switch will automatically trip and protect the rest of the panel. Second one is a switch mode power supply. Various components of a panel will be. Am I audible and the screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So talking about the switch mode power supply, various component. I see a lot of students in the chat are typing no. I had shared the screen and the voice is turned on. Presentation is not being displayed.
so request the participants to check bandwidth or internet, speed from your end, as we are all able to see the screen shared by sir, and voice is also clear. So I think if you don't have enough bandwidth, you may unable to receive it. Okay, I think Maheshwari, is it visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm also can hear the voice and all. Sir, now you can continue, sir, as they are they don't have enough bandwidth, so this is a problem.
I understand. Okay.
Okay.
So the switch mode power supply is a device which is used to convert alternating supply into direct current, which may be useful for many components of the control panel. There may be PLCs, there may be controllers, there may be drives, there may be counters, etc., which operates on direct voltage, which is DC. So we require a conversion of alternating current, which is a supply voltage, which can be converted using the switch mode power supply. And terminal blocks are just distributing devices. They are like connectors with protection fuse in it. So it allows you to transfer power to different parts of the panel. It is actually a distribution kind of work it is doing. And circuit breakers are again protection device. When some abnormal activities like overload or overcurrent or short circuit happens, these circuit breakers need to get tripped and allows you to, protect other device of the panel to get operated. Turn off when the power supply is abnormal. And timers and counters are special devices which are used in special applications, like when you want to count a number of objects passing through your conveyor, you can use a counter to count the number of objects. Similarly, timer can be used to turn on or turn off a motor with the respective time delay you wanted to provide. We'll explain, we'll discuss a few detailedly into all the components when we are going through the slide. Furtherly, PLC is a device which is used to control various automation components like motors, your elevators, or whatever devices you wanted to control, pumps. So many devices are available for industrial automation control. They can be controlled using a sequential operational program, which can be programmed into this PLC. So it acts like a computer, and based on the program provided by an operator, the PLC performs. We'll also discuss detailedly about it in the future slides. Network adapters are also coming into electrical panel components because most of the devices nowadays are operated using Ethernet. So we will require an Ethernet switch to connect your PLCs to different components like SCADA or field devices using Ethernet network. Contactors are used to are also kind of a switch which helps you to turn on and turn off a heavy loaded motor, and it also acts as a protection to the motor. And similarly, relay is an output device which is used to enable or disable and on off the field devices like motor or a drive. It can give command to several devices from the PLC. It will receive command from the PLC and provide power supply to the desired field devices. So the operation of a relay board and contactor are almost similar, which we'll be discussing in the future slide. And finally, drives are the devices which are used to control the speed of a motor. So using a frequency modulation or voltage modulation, we can control the speed of a drive. We can turn on and off. We can forward and backward the direction of a motor. So a direction change and speed change can be achieved using the drives. So we'll be discussing more detailedly about each components in the future slides. And as you see, these are the basic components in electrical panels externally available. Some are like control push buttons, which are used to turn on, turn off manually using an operator. A person has to go and press these buttons to turn on and turn off a device. The green one you are seeing a push button, and the red one what you are seeing is called as mushroom head emergency push button. And next one is a selector switch. When you wanted to give selected options for controlling a device like auto mode, manual mode, on, off, forward, reverse. So directional changes also can be achieved using selector switch. Indicators are a device which are used to identify whether power supply is coming to the panel, whether there is an abnormality. All those informations can be seen through these indicators. So they also act as an output device. And HMIs or man-made machines or human machine interface are the devices which are advanced devices which comes with additional controls and options. You can control, monitor, and change the parameters whatever you want in the field device can be achieved through the HMIs. And finally, signaling units will alert the people working in the plant or in the operation floor where there is an abnormality or the system is running normal. All those informations can be achieved using signaling devices. So let's get still deeper about each topics. So relays are switches that opens and closes a circuit electromechanically or electronically. So there are two types of relays. One it is electromechanical relay and one more is solid state relay. Electromechanical relay works on the principle of magnetic induction, and solid state relay works with electronic devices like SCR, TRIAC, etc. So in the drawing, first drawing, you will be seeing this is called a coil. You can see also in the picture here, this is the same representation. So there is a coil and it is connected to a control circuit supply. And this control circuit supply will have a switch in between. And in the bottom, you will have a field supply. This supply will be connected to the field devices as well as the relay. So when you turn on the control supply, the switch closes and the coil becomes electromagnetized. So the bottom, there is an soft iron core plate which gets attracted because a magnetic induction is created in the coil. So when it gets attracted, it gets connected to the field supply and turns on the field unit like a motor or different devices what you wanted to feel. So this voltage supply switch is closed by a PLC or a physical switch like a push button. That's how power flows through the circuit and gets energized in the field. And there is a spring return option available in all the relays because even though when you close the power supply in the control circuit, quite amount of electromagneticity will still remain in the coil. So which makes the soft iron core still get contacted even though you had turned off the circuit. So to avoid that problem, we have an option called spring return, which will pull the soft iron core when the magnetic power has gone. So automatically this gets retracted and the field power supply will disconnect the motor from the power. That's how a relay works. Similarly, a contactor works also in the same manner. Relays works on different operating voltage like 24 volt, 48 volt, 5 volt, and also in AC voltage. So AC relays are also available. Based on the application, we can do the relay selection. So I told you about the solid state relay. The first drawing in the left hand side shows the solid state relay. These are quite expensive and used in various industrial automation applications like DCS and PLC systems. But there is quite a complication in using these devices. Like when they fail, it needs a replacement. The whole unit has to be replaced, or if it burns, the whole unit it burns. It's quite expensive as well. So people always prefer to buy electromechanical relay when the application doesn't require such a complicated or a costly device. So this is an electromechanical relay and it is called as a relay bank. So here are 8 relays. So this is an 8 relay bank, and what you see in the red color over here is called as fuse. So we also have a protection circuit for these relays also. When an abnormality occurs, when the current rating of the fuse is exceeding the rated current, automatically the fuse gets blows. So your relay gets protected. There are also relay banks which doesn't has the fuse cartridge, so that if some abnormality happens, the relay gets stripped and maybe the relay goes failure. But it is easy to replace. It's just a plug and play device. You can just remove the relays from its socket and replace with a new one, and it is also not very expensive compared to the solid state relays. You will be seeing this larger size relay in the column, third one, which is nothing but an AC relay. These are used to turn on a higher voltage devices like auto transformer or some other electrical equipments which works on alternating current. So these devices work on direct current and AC relays works on alternating current. And finally, we see contactors. Contactors works on the same principle of relays. They also have the same physical construction of a relay. So they are used to control higher voltage operated devices like induction motors or heavy voltage equipments, to protect them from over voltage or over current or short circuit. These devices will initially get stripped or burned off to protect the field devices. As you see in the drawing, this has the same construction of a relay where you will have a soft iron core. When the power supply comes, the coil, what you see in the yellow color is a coil. This coil gets electromagnetized and the soft iron core is pulled inside so that it gets attracted and physical contact happens. That's how power flows from the supply to the distribution end. And once the switch is turned off, the electromagneticity of the contactor will go off and the spring return will pull back the supply line connections and disconnect the field device from the circuit. That's how the contactor also works. So the working principle is almost same between a contactor and a relay. Contactors are used for also for phase reversals of motor. You can use these contacts to reverse the direction of motor. I hope you know how to turn off, reverse the phase. RYB gives a forward direction, and if you do a phase reversal, it will go in the opposite direction, anti-clockwise direction. So you can use contactors for phase reversal also. And talking about SMPS, as I told before, there will be so many equipments in your panel which will be working on a 24 volt or a 5 volt operated DC power supply. So what we will get from the line is an alternating current. So we need to convert the alternating current into direct current. So you will connect a line and neutral here in the first terminals and ground here, and you can receive a 24 volt or a 14 volt, 12 volt or a 5 volt output based on the product selection. You will get output and you can distribute it to the panel. So this is mainly used only to convert the voltage from alternating current to direct current. As I said before, the terminal blocks are nothing but a distribution device which helps you to distribute current to various parts of the control panel. So assume this as a SMPS. This is actually an SMPS. You connect a line and neutral here, and you will be receiving a 24 voltage output, and you will be taking it to the terminal block 1. What you will do is you will short all the terminals available here, and you can collect 24 volt output in the every terminal's end. So you can use it for different applications distribution into a single panel. And the SMPS selection should be based on the number of loads current available. So you will be having so many devices available in a panel, which doesn't mean that a single SMPS can be used to distribute everything. There is a current calculation ratio which you should use to select number of SMPS you require inside a panel. And these terminal blocks will be having a Zener diode inside, which is also used to protect these terminal blocks. When something goes off, the Zener diode burns. There is also a fuse cartridge option available in these terminal blocks. If the current rating is exceeding the rated value, the fuse blows and it protects the rest of circuit. That's how these terminal blocks work. And we are jumping into circuit breakers. So circuit breakers are just a switch which is used to protect the rest of circuit by tripping if the rated current exceeds the value. So there are several types of circuit breakers like MCB, ELCB, RCCB. There are several types. We are just going to talk about what is a circuit breaker. So the main mechanism involved is it has a bimetallic strip which connects the connecting end and the terminal. When the power supply is exceeding the rated, rated current, the bimetallic strip will get heated and it starts to bend down, and your MCB gets tripped. So you have to allow some time to get it back to normal position so that you can still use it again by the time you can rectify the input side fault what it has occurred. So your circuit breaker will act as a protection device as well as a switching device. So what I told about a bimetallic strip is this one, thermal protection bimetallic. So this will be always in contact here when the switch is on. When the current is exceeding, it gets heated and start to bend, and it starts to disconnect from this area, so that power supply will not flow from the connection point to distribution point. And that's how an MCB works. So as I told before, timers are used in specific applications, like when you want a delay before running a device, or when you want a delay after running a device, you can use timer. For example, you want to start a motor 10 seconds later you turned on the switch, you can use an on delay timer. When you wanted to use a timer, wanted to turn off a motor 10 seconds after you turned off the switch, you can also use it as an off delay timer. So these on delay and off delay segregations are done by the PLC programming, and the timer will help you to achieve the time delay before turning on or turning off the load. As I said before, counters are devices which are used to count number of objects traveling through a circuit. In the drawing, you can see a yellow color device, which is the counter, and the number of containers moving into the conveyor are counted by this counter, which is used to analyze the number of production units per day or number of faulty components ran through the conveyor. All these informations can be achieved from a counter. And there are different types of motors which runs on alternating current and direct current, and this is not our topic today, so I'm just going to skip this slide. And if you want to know the motor's working principle, still we can do that, but still this is not our topic today. But why I showed you that is motors are used in different applications of industrial automation, like a turntable to rotate an object, a conveyor to move an object from one end to another end, cranes and hoist or overhead operating devices which transfers material from one place to another uses motors. Drilling, lathing machines uses motors, and lifting applications like car lifting, heavy object lifting also uses motor. There are also latest advanced technologies like electric monorail, which travels overhead into factories to transfer objects from one place to another. So those areas where we use motors and PLCs as applications. There is also a six-axis robots which operates on picking and placing of objects from one place to another. So those controls can also be achieved using these motors. And VFD, as I told before, it is used to control a motor and by varying its frequency and voltage supplied to the electric motor. You can change the speed of a motor gradually, giving from slow to peak, or you can phase reverse. You can change direction using a VFD. All these can be achieved using a VFD in a circuit. And programmable logic controller is our main topic today. So there are different brands of PLCs available in the market. The major brands are, which I had mentioned here, Schneider Electric, Siemens, Delta, Omron, GE Fanuc, Danfoss, Rockwell Automation, ABB, Mitsubishi. These are some well-known brands which are available in the market. And let's go get into a little deeper on the PLC topic. So PLC is a device, it's like a computer, it's a digital computer which can be programmed to do certain operations in the field. It will be having components like input and output, which you will be seeing in the future slide. So as you see, this is the block diagram of a PLC. You will be having a power supply unit. It will have an input module and output module and a central processing unit like a computer. So in a computer, you will be using your keyboard and mouse as an input device, and your CPU is the processing unit, and your monitor or keyboard or your printer will be the output display units. So similarly, PLC has an input module and an output module with the central processing unit. The power supply unit provides power to the whole unit, and the input module has options to connect various input devices, which we'll be seeing in the future slide. And the output side, you will be connecting motors, lights, pumps, etc. And the CPU has two major divisions, which is program memory and data memory. Program memory is the place where you will store the program. The engineer will be programming the sequence of operation, what it has to do, what the system has to do will be stored in the programming memory, the sequential operation. And the real-time data like input on, input off, other process will be stored in the data memory. The CPU is the place where the mathematical operation is performed, and CPU gives control to the controlled output through the output devices. And let's get into a little bit deeper. So this is how it works. So you will connect a switch or push button or sensor or something to the input side, and your signal will be processed, and the processed output will be delivered to the output device using an output module. So this drawing explains you what are the input devices like indicators, signal columns. The input devices like push button, selector switch, limit switch, proximity switch are the devices which collects input from the field. Push buttons are the devices where human gets manually push the button. Similarly, selector switch, limit switch are operated like when the operation happens in like an elevator in a lift. When the lift reaches one floor, it gives information to the PLC that the lift has reached third floor. So the lift will have a limit switch which gets contact when the lift moves to a different floor. So an input signal is generated. That signal is delivered to the PLC. That's how PLC knows that the lift is in second floor or third floor. And similarly, proximity sensor. Proximity sensors are like metal detectors. So when a metallic object comes closer by to the sensor, they generate an input and tells to the PLC that a metal object has came closer. So these are the kind of inputs which are provided as inputs to PLC. And this PLC, based on the programmer's application, I had received an input from the operator. Now the motor should go on. So it will send command to the motor and the motor turns on. So that's how PLC works. So what are the inputs? Switches, push button. As I told before, the operators can manually control using switches, push button. Automatically, we can also sense using limit switches. Limit switches are nothing but used in the elevators where you will understand that the lift has came to this position. Photoelectric sensors are optical sensors. So light is an operational unit here. A beam of light will be transferred to a reflector, and this light will continuously be transferred. When some object comes and interacts between these lights and disturbs the light transfer, a signal is sent to the PLC. Proximity sensor, as I told before, they are metal detectors. When a metal component comes closer by, they send a signal to PLC. Condition sensors are used in process automations like pressure switch. A cylinder will be filled with gas or acid something, and it has to be filled with certain pressure. So these sensors will continuously keep on checking the pressure of the cylinder and tells the PLC that the maximum pressure is achieved. Now you should alarm. That's how it works. And level switches are used in operational tanks. For example, you can consider as ball valve in water tank you have at home. When the water flows into the tank, the ball valve will be lower. And when the water comes up and starts to push with the plastic ball valve, it goes and gets contact to the contact point. That's how input is provided to PLC, saying that the tank's level has been achieved. Now you have to turn off the motor. And temperature switches are like RTDs, which are used to sense the temperature of a certain area, like a tank or a furnace. Those temperature is sensed, and that information is transferred to the PLCs. These are very important items. Components used in industrial automation, because without them, automation is not at all possible, because temperature operated, pressure operated, level operated devices are very, very important, and which works on very dangerous situation. If something goes wrong with these devices, serious accidents can happen. So these are very important components of industrial automation. Similarly, vacuum switches are like when you do a suction on a tank, or when you clear a tank's air pressure, you will be using vacuum sensors over there. Float switches are similar to ball valves. When the switch attains a certain position, it will give signal to the command. Encoders are devices which is used to detect the RPM of a motor. So it is connected to a shaft of a motor, and when the motor shaft rotates, the encoders also will rotate. It again works in the principle of magnetism. It again contains a magnet inside, and it will create electromagnetic induction, and that current is received to the receiver, to PLC, and that's how we will be calculating the range of speed the motor is running. Similarly, we have output devices connected to the PLCs like valves to open and close a valve, to use as a motor starter. When you can give command to the motor starter to turn off the motor or turn on the motor. you can give commands to the solenoid valves to operate a cylinder, pneumatic operated cylinder or a hydraulic operated cylinder. And you can give commands to actuators directly. Actuators are nothing but pneumatic cylinders. You can also give commands to control relays. Control relays, as I showed before, they are in between the output module and the field device. When the PLC gives command to a field device, there will be a relay in between which receives the command and gives appropriate voltage to the field device. You can also give alarms and horns which are used to alert people. For example, when pressure switch exceeds 100 Pascal, automatically the alarm will initiate and mentioning the operator to go and turn off the motor. If it is not automized, if it is automized, automatically it has to turn off using the PLC program. There is also stack lights, which is used to alarm people if there is any abnormality happening. The output devices can turn on fans, counters, pumps, printers, etc. So these are the output devices which can be turned on using a PLC. So talking about a PLC, in the first drawing, you'll be seeing the first one is a power supply unit. You'll be connecting a single phase voltage or three phase voltage based on the application, and it will convert AC into DC. Even though you have a SMPS inside the panel, it is better to use the power supply unit because the power supply unit will be giving power to the backplane. Backplane is nothing but a fixture where you connect all the IO modules inside it. So you can remove all these individual modules outside. There will be one metallic object behind, which will have the connection terminals of these IO modules. So this power supply is used to power the whole backplane and give power to all the modules. Second one is the CPU module, which is performing the mathematical operation, and it has a storage space to store the program what you have provided. The lower part of the CPU is the communication part, where you can connect an Ethernet cable to your laptop to do programmings, or you can connect it to a network switch, and then from the network switch you can take to the field devices or to the SCADA system. And input module is where you connect the inputs like push buttons, valves, all push buttons, switches, everything here, or field relays, or sorry, not relays, read switch, or proximity sensor. All those are connected here. And in the output side, we connect all to the relays, and from the relays we will connect it to motor or pump, all these devices. So we have analog modules as well as digital modules. Analog modules are connected to field devices which operates on analog input or analog output. So we have DI, DO, and AI, AO. DI is the digital input module, DO is digital output module, AI is analog input module, AO is analog output module. So all these modules can be connected to the backplane of a PLC. And if you ask me whether all the PLCs will be in this format, no, it is. You can also have a PLC with only input and output module. Those are called as basic PLCs or modular PLCs. So they can perform a limited operation with limited functions because they are very small, and around 4 or 10 IOs can be connected to them. But these type of backplanes you can use to connect more than 20-25 signals, and there are remote IO modules. From this, the Ethernet cable will run to different place, and there you will have IO modules. You can connect to them, so they can be extended. The number of IOs can be extended to a certain limit. Am I going very fast? Is it understandable to everybody? Should I go a little slow?
No need, sir. Like go ahead. So they're following, I think.
Okay. All right. Fine. And so a PLC will be using a programmable. You will be using a programmable language to communicate to a PLC to write programs. There are different types of programming language like ladder language, functional block diagram, structured text, instruction list, and sequential functional chart. So the basic programming language what a PLC programmer will be using is ladder language because it's universal and easily communicable to everybody. So today we are not going to discuss about how to write a program. We are just going to see what are the different types of programming language because it's a very vast topic. I'll just tell you brief about it. This is called positive rail. This is negative rail. S1, SW1 is the switch or a push button which you use in field. The IO will be connected to this unit, and when the operator pushes the push button, this goes energized. So power supply will flow from here to here, and this will be some other field devices. When this field devices signal comes, it will help to start your motor. So R is your motor, for example. So when you turn on the switch, the power supply flows to here. When the field devices gives permission, it will enable the motor to run. This is the basic concept you use to write a PLC program. There are also a lot of pre-built functional modules which are used for specific applications in ladder logic. Second is functional block diagrams. Functional block diagrams, as you use in C++ and Java, these are similar functional block diagrams where you will be having drag and drop options to implement all the functionalities like timers, counters, and operators, or logic, all logic operators. All those functions can be achieved through these functional block diagrams. Structural text is again a syntax-based programming language. It resembles mostly a programming language called as Pascal. And instruction list is very old programming language, and usually nowadays people are not using these instruction list or sequential flowchart. Mostly they are following ladder logic and structural text because structural text is basically like a C programming, so everybody knows programming. It is easy to write, and ladder logic is very beginner level programming language, and it is understandable by all community of people. So most of the programmers uses ladder logic and structured text to write their programs into the PLC. So there is also a link called plcsimulator.net where you can do and try simulations online. You can also download a software and try to connect. As I told before, the PLC has input module and output module. A switch is connected to the input module and the load is connected to the output module. So if the input 1 is excited, output 1 should excite. That program will be written by a programmer mentioning that if switch 1 goes on, output 1 should go on. He can write in any level. He can also mention it as if switch 1 goes on, switch 7 goes on. I mean, load 7 goes on. So when the operator turns on the switch, the PLC will check which output should be turned on. If the programmer has written output 7 should turn on, the 7th light will turn on. That's how a PLC works. So we are entering into visual interface devices, which are nothing but HMIs, MMIs, and SCADA. So initially we had a in olden days we can see the operator control panel where you will have only manual controls to do all the operations. So operator has to sit in front of a panel. So you need a plant operator for all the industries where you will be seeing referring manuals and turning on and turning off motors or other field devices. All monitoring and control functions has to be done from this control panel. This consumed a lot of electronic objects and a lot of space. Because of this, when the device fails, it needs to be replaced immediately. Otherwise, the plant's production will get disturbed. So we brought an advanced technology called human-machine interface or man-machine interface, where we have a programming software to design all these switches and output devices into it, and you can just click on these functions and turn on and turn off all the input and output devices which you want to monitor as well as control using a HMI. And the most advanced version is SCADA, where you can put an operator to sit in front of a computer. He can control as well as monitor to the whole plant. All the plant's operation will be shown in the SCADA screen. And latestly, we have mobile handheld mobile devices like iPods, where you can install these SCADA softwares and you can see, monitor, and control all the plant's parameters from the device itself. So let's get a little deeper. So virtual instrumentations in control system. So this is the engineering station which has SCADA. It is connected to an Ethernet switch, and this Ethernet switch is connected to a PLC. And your HMI is also connected to your PLC. It can be RS-232 mode of communication, or if your HMI is capable of doing Ethernet connection, you can connect it to the switch. So the programmer will be feeding his input to the program to the PLC, and an operator will be sitting in front of the SCADA screen. He will be controlling and monitoring by receiving all the parameters from the PLC to the SCADA system or to the HMI system. So these red circle things are both similar components which are used to control and monitor the plant's operation informations coming to this PLC. So in between there is an Ethernet switch which acts as a communication medium between the PLC and SCADA or HMI. So traditional technology, as I told before, you have to have a push button operation units to turn on and turn off or something. Over a period of time, these devices get jammed or it breaks. Operators may work on harsh over it. So it was always expensive to replace them, as well as it required a immediate replacement to run the plant uninterruptedly. So to avoid these traditional technology, we brought HMIs and MMIs. As I told before, these are like a small miniature display where you will see the whole plant's operation. You can turn on and turn off every individual objects available in your plant to be controlled through a PLC. So you can do control, monitoring, recipe management in industries like ferroalloys, industries like power plant. You need to compose some items and burn it in the furnace. So how many kg of coal, how many kg of iron, how many kg of other components will be managed in a database called as recipe management. And every day the operator cannot program it. So these are stored inside folders in the HMI units. The operators will go and select it and do the operation so that it is easy for them to do their day-to-day tasks. Alarms are something which resembles the abnormality. Something, if the system goes wrong, all these informations will be showed in the screen as alarms. And data loggings are storage of all these informations into a database. And for future reference, anybody can go and log into the HMI and find all this information in them. Am I audible? I see in the chat that I'm not audible.
Yes, sir. You go. You can, sir.
Okay. So SCADA is a supervisory control and data acquisition. It's again a control system component where, as I told before, it is very similar to a HMI. Just one difference is it comes into a laptop or a desktop. So you have to install the SCADA software in your computer and connect it to an Ethernet switch, which is connected to your PLC. So there will be a communication mode called OPS, which will be communicating PLC from, SCADA to PLC, which will act as a bridge between it. And all the PLC tags which collects information from field devices will be sent to the SCADA system through this PLC, and the SCADA will show you all those informations in the screen. I think somebody is not able to hear. Sorry. Okay. So I'm just going to show you some real-time SCADA screenshots. So this is one of the screen which I developed for a plant in Vizag. So it's batching plant. So where you will, this is the screen where you see is the ash management system. So coal is burnt, and this coal is, and the heat energy is transferred to the furnace. So when the heat is transferred to the furnace, it has to be cooled before it is being released to the external environment. So from the furnace, the harmful gases are transferred into these chambers, and these fans acts as a coolant, and it cools the gas and then sends to bags, where these bags will filter the dust particles into it and transfer it to the next blower, and the next blower will release it into the atmosphere. So this is a very big process which you are seeing in a small screen. For example, I could say that this process will be around half a kilometer distance. So the furnace will be at one place, the cooling plants will be in one place, these bags will be in one place, blowers will be in one place, and finally the tower will be in another place. So all these informations, need to be in a single place where an engineer can sit and control. That place you can use SCADA to receive all the information. For example, the temperature running inside the furnace can be monitored, the fan speed can be monitored, whether the fan is on or off can be monitored. You can also turn off and turn on the fan from this place. So sitting in your desk, you can control the whole plant using the SCADA system. Similarly, this is the batching system, as I told before. When the plant needs something to be burnt in the furnace, they need to mix some items like coal, magnesium, coke, something. So they need to transfer it from the field to different conveyors, and from the different conveyors, it is filled into the hoppers. Hoppers are nothing but storage units, and then discharged to the furnace. So what you're seeing in the screen, CV504, is around 4 kilometer conveyor. So if something happens in between, the operator has to travel to the place and turn on the motor or turn off the motor. But when you're having an advanced SCADA like this, from the place where you're sitting, you can just click them and turn on and turn off. So it is easy for monitoring as well as controlling a process. These are some more applications in field, like wastewater management project which I did for Dr. Reddy's laboratory in Hyderabad. So this is a sewage treatment plant. They have a sewage treatment plant where the excess water from the industry, flows to this plant, and the water is purified and again used it for commercial purpose. So I had developed them. So they use it for controlling the motors, pumps, cleanser. All these components are controlled using this SCADA screen. This is also one of the screen of them. And this is similarly another screen which I developed for Veolia Waters in Nagpur. This is same. So this is called the alarm screen. So when something goes wrong, the alarms get recorded here, and it will start to blink till the operator comes and acknowledge it. So it keeps you informed that there is some abnormality happening in the system, and they need to identify what is the issue going on, and control just keep the system under control. So when you acknowledge the alarm, it will show in blue color or green color. The operator can decide the changes on it, and that's how the operator is informed that there is an abnormality happening. So mobility on tablets and smartphones is like today everybody wants everything over phone or iPads or other handheld devices, because we don't want to sit in one place and do these things. Everything need to be interfaced into mobile phones. So all these SCADA applications are nowadays coming into web-based applications or software installed applications, where the operator can install these applications into their tablet or mobile and do the controls and operations from them. So the next topic is advanced controllers. Advanced controllers are similar to PLCs, a little bit doing a higher end applications or specific applications what a PLC cannot do. So the advanced controllers are examples like PAC controller, Modicon M580. EPAC is a device used manufactured by Schneider Electric. Virtual instrumentation is another one control unit device designed by LabVIEW National Instruments. And Honeywell devices are like distributed control system. And latest application called BACOFF, Beckhoff is a device which use your industrial computer. The computer which are used in industries are used as I/O modules to program them inside the computer itself. So you no need to buy a separate controller dedicatedly for doing all these programming operations. All the I/O connection functions and the programming unit comes in the form of an industrial computer, and you can do all the programming of operations and I/O connections over the CPU itself. So these are some of the advanced, and PAC is used for stepper motor controls, dedicated robotics surgical robots, or very accuracy required systems use PAC devices. National Instruments are very well known, control units in the field where use functional blocks using a tool called LabVIEW. So this is also an advanced control system. DCS are like a control system will be in distributed end. It is not required that only one control station is there, and the field devices can be remotely accommodated. The the control system itself can be accommodated in distributed end. So that's how DCS works. So if your plant has more than 3,000 IOs, 5,000 IOs, it is better to opt distributed control system. But still, advanced PLCs are there to handle that much IOs. Specific applications like medical field or power plant or furnace operation can be using distributed control system, because a large number of IOs can be connected, a large number of remote IOs can be connected to them. So, coming back, system configuration is a tool which is used to configure how the IOs are connected to a PLC, and it is quite very advanced. It might not be useful for your people. I just wanted to show you a few glance on industrial network protocols. So protocols are nothing but communication mediums between the devices available in the field. Your control room will be connecting through Ethernet to a PLC, and your HMIs, field devices like drives, gateways, or meters, sensor, etc., may be communicating through different medium of different medium like RS-232, RS-485, etc., and they will be converted in through this gateway devices and then connected to PLC, because most of the field devices are not Ethernet compatible, which I mean existing devices like 5 years old devices will be RS-232 or RS-485 based devices. So they need a converter to get converted the signal and then transferred to PLC, and from the PLC you can view and monitor and control the signal through the SCADA system or HMI. So if you just search here in Wikipedia industrial protocol, common industrial protocol, you will find all these communication schemes, and you can study very well about each communication scheme. And they are designed by specific manufacturers. For example, Schneider Electric relies on Modbus. Modbus is a mode of communication what Schneider Electric use. Similarly, Allen Bradley uses a protocol called as CIP, Common Industrial Protocol, where it again is classified into three main types like device net, control net, and compact. So Ethernet IP, I'm sorry, Ethernet. So device net, control net, and Ethernet are the three types of communication modes available for Allen Bradley. Siemens use Profibus, Profinet, and Modicon is used by Schneider. So these are different types of communication protocols used by different industries and different industrial automation components. So if you just search common industrial protocols in Wikipedia, you will get the screen and you can study very well about it. So these are some of the automation devices used in converting signals or transferring signals. So this is an Ethernet switch. It is again classified into two types: managed switch and unmanaged switch. Based on the application, there will be selections of switches. RS-232 485 is a two-wire or a four-wire communication system where field devices like RTDs, thermocouplers are connected to it. Those signals are converted into from RS to 485, and from 485 through Modbus TCP/IP protocol, we can connect it to the computer, and you can receive signals in the SCADA or PLC. Similarly, you can convert RS-232 or 485 into TCP/IP protocol, which is nothing but Ethernet TCP/IP. HART is one more form of communication. CC-Link, DeviceNet, Profibus, and DFR. These are different types of communication schemas which are used to communicate the field devices. So the field devices can maybe non-communicable to Ethernet. So we need all these type of devices to convert the signal and collect them to the controller to understandable format. So the presentation is done. I'll just show some videos to understand more about industrial automation. Can you see my screen, the video screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we are going to see is a fully automated water treatment plant. You will receive the 30 liters water cans to your house, right? So those water cans are cleaned, filled with water and packed and sent back to the plant. So that is a fully operated system, which I'm going to show you. So the cans are traveling in the conveyor, which is operated by a motor controlled by a PLC. It is going into a chamber where the caps are removed. So this is a piston which comes and engages over the cap and pulls up so that the caps is removed. So it's a pneumatic operated piston or a cylinder. You know why the can is moved? It is rejected because of some problem with it or a different model. So it enters into the washing chamber now. So the cans are transferred from one place to another place using a conveyor, automatic conveyor. So the switch is here, limit switch. A counter which counts the number of objects traveling. It can also be a photoelectric sensor mentioning that an object has came here. This is how the cans are rotated and cleaned from bottom side. So the cans are cleaned both interior and exterior. The pressure is monitored using a gauge. So this is the pneumatic actuator, which will have a piston rod which moves forward and backward. So water is filled volumetrically. So once it is filled, it goes to the capping unit, and the capping unit will just fix the cap over it. So this is how bottling plant works. So I would like to say from the beginning of the process to end of the process, you would have not seen a single human being operating in between. The whole process is completely automated. Here you see the control push buttons, which the operator will just press to start it, and all these process runs sequentially based on the program what the programmer has written. Only interference from the human being is just emergency push button has to be pressed if some emergency abnormalities happens. That too, the programmer would have written interlocks. If some emergency happens, automatically the system should go off. And in case if that doesn't work and some external intervention happens, operator may need to come and push the emergency push button. So this is how an automated system works. I'll show one more video of BMW paint shop where you will see a lot of robotics. So the car bodies are washed in the washing chamber. It is completely immersed inside the washing unit and cleaned completely. So this is a painting chamber. So where it goes into a deep dipping, where the complete body will be painted with a single coating. So this car is transferred using rollers, which helps to move a heavy object like this. So the molding paints are done by 6-axis robo. You can see there is no human intervention here. All these operations are pre-programmed using robotics. So the painting operation is also done by 6-axis robots. You can see the door openings are done by the robots themselves. There is no human intervention. All are motor operated based on the sequence the programmer writes.
Excuse me, sir. We can't see display, sir.
I'm sorry, you are not able to see?
Yes, sir. We can't able to see, sir.
Just now or?
Just now, sir.
Okay, I'll reshare it again. Can you see now?
Yes, sir. We can see.
So it was showing about the painting process of a BMW car. You can see the robots open the doors by themselves. it rotates, comes out. Everything is access moment, and this access moment are done using PLC or some controller codings. So the car is transferred to the next unit for polishing. So next unit is also completely robotic. It checks the paint intensity. Everywhere the paint intensity is checked. So that's about I think that's all I wanted to convey about today's presentation. So if you have some questions or something, you can start asking me. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, guys, if you have any doubts, please raise in chat box or in question tab. Yes, guys, if you have any doubts or any question and answers, currently is question and answer session. If you have any queries, any doubts regarding the automation, please raise your hand or otherwise draft your message in chat box or question tab.
So I see a question in the chat box.
Sir, what is the microcontroller major role in industrial automation, sir?
Microcontrollers are used as very basic level programming units, like small display units. They use microcontrollers. Very basic. It's not used in advanced automations. We use PLCs. We use miniature controllers. We use PAC. We use DCS for controlling industrial automation components. Very cheap automated or basic automated items, like you want to pick and place one object, you don't need to invest a lot on PLC. The PLC may cost more than 50,000-60,000, so why should you invest that much money? So for minimal level of display and minimal level of control, you can still use microcontrollers.
Sir, in question and tab, there one person is asking what is the difference between the PLC and SCADA?
Yeah. See, it's a very common question I face in every sessions. PLCs are abbreviated to be programmable logic controller. So it is a programmable device. You do PLC programming on sequence, programming sequence. That first, if this input comes, 10th output should go on. If second input comes, 11th output should go on. If third input comes, first output should go on. So the PLC programmer will write these codes into the PLC. So this first input, second input, third input, all these input comes to the input module, and the PLC will come give command to the output module to go on based on the program. SCADA is a device which will show you the control features, which will show you the monitoring point. Whether the output has gone on, you can see from SCADA. If you want to turn on the output manually, you can click over the motor and a pop-up button will show up to turn on or turn off motor, so that you can turn on and turn off the motor. Application wise, they do the same function, but component wise, the SCADA is a display unit where you will monitor and control plant parameters. PLC is a device where you cannot monitor physically, but you can, all this information comes to SCADA through PLC only. PLC is a central point which collects all the information from the field devices and provide input to the SCADA system. So I see another question in the chat, how this automation works in case of leakage. If this can help to prevent the disaster caused by chemical hazards leak, why having a control panel in few industry? Can't this automation not applicable to estimate the disaster prior? I received this question from Santoshi RG. It's a good question. See, everything cannot be predicted initially while doing programming. There will be a lot of implementations after we commission the system also. For example, if I'm a programmer, I go to field and do commissioning. So I calculate the hazards which can occur, and I do interlocks in program to avoid such hazards. In future, if after I implement the program and come back, the customer will add on some systems to the program. Maybe a different programmer will do the programming task for it. He would have missed some IOs, or he would have missed some interlocks to be done. Or the system is also capable of getting old. The sensors are capable of getting old. The actuators are capable of breaking down. So the seals can go, the oil seals can go, the pressure switches can fail. So such situations are there, which causes a disaster. It happens. It is normal. The effect is adverse. I really understand your point, but I say that machine automation can be, you can be predicting, because there are 4 IOs or 5 IOs. You can still see that only these number of IOs will work, and only these many accidents can happen. You can predict. But plant automations are based on parameters available in the plant. A boiler will burst because of some other pressure switch. It is not at all the fault of a boiler. The pressure switch which pumps the motor which pumps the content which is going into the tank, if it fails, that will be the reason of a boiler failure. So it is not at all possible to predict every single failure. I think I answered your question. I have another question. I have enrolled for advanced automation session, but the session starts with basic only. Is this only single session, or we get multiple session? See,
Sir, actually, sir, one add-on, sir. Guys, actually, from this is a just fundamental session. It is a part of unlocking skills campaign. The main sessions will be start from 13th onwards. Just this is the industry person is conducted today's session as a part of unlocking skills. From 13th onwards, we are starting on trainings on 23 technologies with free of cost, like all latest technologies like machine learning, data science, industrial automation with PLC. So all the sessions are available today. I think whatever members are registered for the automation program, so you get link from our depot, our team. Okay, one batch is start from 13th onwards, and another batch is start from 25th onwards. In the time we covered the some advanced level. This is the unlocking skill point of view. So what is this campaign of unlocking skills? In that, in this session, we covered the career path, like what are the opportunities, and as well as Sar is already covered the what is SCADA, what is PLC, and industrial automation. So this is the like fundamental basic idea session only. Okay. For remaining, please contact our toll-free number. Maybe if you are not received any mail from our team regarding the full day session, just contact our team. Okay. I just now placed in chat box also our toll free number. Please contact that person. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And after doing this course, I mean, PLC SCADA certification, you can try to find roles in companies like industrial automation companies, like system integrators. There are several industrial automation companies which do system integration all over India. They develop automation control systems to the industries. So you can find opportunity over there as a PLC programmer, SCADA designer. You can also support marketing teams like project engineer. You can also involve in roles like product specification analyzer, IO calculator. A lot of roles are available. You can also do PLC SCADA trainings to people. You can travel to industries. You can train maintenance engineers. You can get into roles like maintenance engineers, service engineers, and different type of field automation controls in companies like solar plant, or companies like ferroalloy industries, companies like wastewater treatment management. You can go as a SCADA operator or PLC programmer. So these are some of the opportunities available for people who are doing these courses. And I see questions like, what is the role of embedded system programmer in automation? Yes, you can develop your own controller. Using your own embedded coding, you can develop your own controller and use field IO modules to connect field. There are different types of controllers. I'm not stressing you to put only PLC or SCADA into the system. There are even very small, as sir asked me, what is the role of microcontroller over here? If your system requirement is just handling only 4 inputs and 4 outputs, still you can very well go for a microcontroller. Embedded system or advanced programming systems where not everybody will be specialized in embedded coding. So it won't be useful for industrial operations. Maybe for device operated or small level controls, still you can use industrial, embedded system. Difference between PLC and DCS. PLC is capable of operating at certain extent, like it can handle 5000 IOs, it can handle remote IOs. Distributed control system, in the sense, it's like a grid. The control system itself, it acts as a grid, and it can connect multiple RIOs, remote IOs. So if the field is going to operate with 5000, 10,000 IOs, you can capably use a DCS to control so many IOs. In a very advanced automation controls like power plant, or ferroalloy industry, or a batching plant, you can use these DCS control systems where 5000, 10,000 IOs involves into the operation. How many inputs can be given to a single PLC? As I said before, it is based on your selection. There are PLCs available from 1 input, 1 output. So, one input, 4 output. Such PLCs are available. It costs around 3,000 from basic. There are modular PLCs, there are rack-based PLCs. So it's based on selection what you do, and based on application what you want. So shall we monitor using HMI? Yes, the HMI's purpose itself is used for control and monitoring. You can monitor a motor's speed, you can monitor motor's temperature, you can monitor a boiler's pressure, you can monitor boiler's boiler's capacity, or everything can be monitored. Sir, is this session recorded? I'm not the person to answer it. What are the opportunities for industrial automation engineers? Industrial automation engineer itself is an opportunity. I started my career as an automation engineer. I worked in Apollo Tires for 3 years as PLC programmer. I worked in various parts of the country for a project development in industrial automation like PLC SCADA and advanced roles like R&D. You can also enter into R&D for developing PLCs. For developing codes, you can come to R&Ds. In future, does DCS replaces PLC? Already DCS has replaced PLC a lot, but the reason why DCS is not installed everywhere is it's quite costly. It is used in a very higher quoted projects. PLC is not so. And is PLC programming used in Schneider Electric? Of course, yes. You can use any branded PLCs to do programming. They all have their own software. So like Schneider Electric has Unity Pro, Rockwell has RS Logics, Mitsubishi has CX Programmer. There are different programming tools which are used to do programming. How did you start your career, sir? I did my engineering in electrical and electronics in Anna University, and I worked as a sales engineer for 1 year. Later, I joined as maintenance engineer in TVS and worked for 2 years. Then I did my PLC in the SCADA in Technocrat Automation, Chennai, and I joined a company called Mills. They manufacture TI cycles, Hercules. I worked there for 3 years for project development all over the country. And then I moved to Apollo Tires. There I worked as senior automation engineer. I used to control the whole plant's automation, which is completely built by Rockwell Automation. And later on, I moved to Schneider Electric. I work as a senior data architect. I'm a product specialist. I work on industrial automation products. So that's about my brief. Automation increases in India is good, but then also same way unemployed. This is totally a wrong question. See, consider you are working in a matchbox industry. Per day, how many matchbox you can produce? 10 matchbox. What the owner of the industry will achieve? It is not about unemployment. It is about development of the nation. So we need more productivity. So we need to employ a lot of industrial automation components, and these industrial automation components doesn't run by them. You need skilled laborers, skilled engineers to control them, to make and work them. So industrial automation will never replace employees, so don't worry about it. Hydraulics and pneumatics are also part of PLC. They are not part of PLC. They can be controlled using a PLC. Hydraulics are oil-operated pressure devices, and pneumatics are air-operated pressure devices. They can be controlled using a PLC through solenoid valves. Difference between PLC DCS I had told already, and I hope I had answered all the questions. Is there any other questions you can ask me still? Is it required to hard code automation process for every specific process? I really don't understand your question, sorry. The session are used for electrical engineers. Yes. What type of coding skills required to become an automation engineer? Actually, you really don't require any coding skills to become an automation engineer. When you start to study about, see, I had just showed you an outline about PLC, because I didn't know how many experts of PLCs are joining in this session. Because this is just a basic session for understanding about PLC and the basic industrial automation components. That's the topic actually. When you start to enter into PLC, understand every single components of it, only then the coding process will start. The ladder logic is one of the best coding language I had used in various industries. I had programmed more than 50 plus for all industries. So I always use ladder logic, but in between I also use structured text for specific control application. And that's how I say. So initially, you don't need a coding language when you want to enter as a programmer. But once you enter into PLC field, you will automatically learn ladder logic, obviously. Tell about programming, not in this session. Which PLC software is best for beginners to learn? You can try RS Logix 500. You can install the free version. It will work for 12 days. Please send some valuable information to mail. Why is it called 6-axis robot? There are other axis robots also. I just mentioned it as an example, 6-axis robot. What is the link between automation and machine learning? Machine learning is artificial intelligence, which requires totally IT knowledge. Industrial automation is completely different, which requires electrical knowledge. How is this course useful for ECE students? I see IT students also in my batch working for industrial automation. It is not necessary that an ECE student will only understand only the concepts of industrial automation. Anybody who works on this field can learn it very easily. It is not very difficult. And what else? I really don't understand what is this question. Automation is hard coded. Yes, mechanical engineers are most welcome. You are the capable person to do this. What is machine learning, artificial intelligence? It's a different concept. We are not talking that today. Yes, I think I had answered most of the questions. If you have some more questions, you can ask me or.
Yes, sir. Most of the questions are repeated
Yeah,
questions, I
I
think.
see.
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you, sir. Thanks for spending time with APSDC. So, guys, actually, some of the members asking the full time courses regarding the automation. So, just contact these guys. Is given the clear clarity regarding the sessions, regarding full time sessions. So, these are all at the free of cost. Sir, thank you, sir, for conducting valuable session for our AP students and some of the members from outside AP also there. Thanks to the part of unskilling campaign also. Thank you, sir. Thanks to Schneider Electric team also, sir.
Definitely. Thank you so much. It was
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
pleasure of me handling this session, and I hope it was useful to most of the people. I maybe sorry I was not taking the advanced topic because I was planning for beginners. So,
Yes, yes, sir. This is only.
so if it is an advanced session, I would have taken programming tools or something. It is pretty obvious that I was preparing only for the basic session. So let me try next time if you have an opportunity or if I get an opportunity to provide a session on advanced automation for sure.
Sure, sir. Definitely, sir. In future, also, we're expecting this type of programs from you, sir.
Definitely.
Definitely, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, all the participants. And some of the members asking about the AI and ML. Actually, from 13th onwards, we are having a plan one session with Arcus Brainstorm Industry. So, regarding the build a career with AI and ML. If anyone is interested on, just visit our website. So, www.apssdc.in. So actually, this 1 week we are planning plenty of program with industry persons. I think maybe yesterday maybe some of the persons attended. Yesterday we're conducting session on yoga. Before yesterday we're conducting session on cyber security with collaboration with cyber, and Monday also one more session is there with refrigeration and air conditioning on with in collaboration with Hitachi. So this is the motto is unlocking skills. So just given the overview about the skills, and if you guys are any interested, just for regarding the automation, just contact above members, and this is our link for the registration. Just register on it, you get mail from APSDC. And for any other info, please register in visit our website www.apsdc.in. Thank you all. So before closing the session, I'm just play a small video. Just enjoy. So this is the Team India journey in the World Skills 2019. So it is happened in Russia. So enjoy the video. Thank you, everyone.
హలో వస్తూ ఉంటాయి. ఇప్పుడు ఆల్రెడీ సెండ్ చూస్తూ ఉన్నాను. అదే అందుకోసం పంపిస్తాను. వస్తుంది. అవును వస్తూ ఉంటాయి. వస్తూ అందరూ ఒకసారి రావు కదా. అవును మరి అంతే ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి
Yes, I hope enjoy this video. Or maybe some of get many noise. I think so. Just watch in YouTube. This is the official video given by NSDC. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Once again, thanks to Maheshwaran sir, spending valuable time with our students.
Pleasure is mine, sir. Thank you so much. I wish everybody a nice day. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.